Please welcome Frenzy.
All these tools we're going to introduce in this class are what we started working on in 2013 after Hawaii. And oddly enough, after we started working these tools, we climbed to 5th, and then 2nd, and then finally in 2016, we won, which was pretty exciting.
So exciting.
So exciting!
And unbelievable. It was so exciting. So we're going to talk a little bit individually about our life in Sweet Adelines and what led us into Frenzy. I've been in Sweet Adeline, I think, for 23 years, which is a long time. My dad was a barbershopper. He started singing barbershop when I was in college. And I found myself living alone in Florida, and I didn't know a lot of people. And my dad said, hey, you should find a Sweet Adelines chorus and start singing again. And so I found Toasted Tampa in a phone book. And I went to, I did, I know, it's 23 years. Looked him up, went to a rehearsal, and I have been hooked ever since. I started competing with a quartet called Crystal Clear. And we were together, I don't know, like 8 years, and we were in the 10 and not in the 10, and so we were all over the place. Had a great time with them. And then I sang with a quartet called Journey for a few years before these fine ladies came into my life. And then with Frenzy. Yay! That's me.
So I probably have a little bit of a different background than most of the people in Frenzy. I had a bachelor's and a master's degree in classical vocal performance, and my whole life was pretty much singing opera before I ever even heard of barbershop. And a friend of mine said, hey, this little chorus in my area really needs a director, and I had never heard barbershop. And I said, no, it's probably not my strength, because it's not Mozart. And she said, okay, and then a couple weeks later she said, no, you should really try it. And I said, well, I'll come coach for one night. And I went and I coached for one night, and they offered me the job that night. And I said, hey, I have Mondays free. And so that is how I got into barbershop. My chorus was very small at the time. We were only 7 members. And now, I know, we are over 60 members, and we won our region last year, which is pretty awesome. Thank you. And my course has been really patient with me as I've learned and grown over the years. So I have now been in 15 years.
I have been in Sweet Adelines for 19 years. I joined when I was 12. I joined because my mother, who is in this room, hi Mom, was singing in the chorus that I now direct. And so I joined as this little thing, and I always say Sweet Adelines taught me everything I know, which is really true about being like a normal person, well, normal-ish, and about barbershop. So I joined and actually started as a lead, and I got into a quartet relatively quickly, and we scored 490 at our first contest. And then I switched to baritone for the opportunity to compete in a Rising Star quartet, and we came 2nd at Rising Star after just a few months of rehearsal, and that's kind of when a light bulb went off, and I was like, I am so not a lead. Baritone is the chosen part. Right? Thank you. And then after that, really soon after that, I found Frenzy and the journey began. And I have to give a shout out to my chorus, because when I joined, well, really, they raised me. They barbershop raised me. And we competed yesterday, and we came 13th with our highest score ever.
I've been in Sweet Adelines for 24 years. I joined in '94, and when I joined, I had never heard of barbershop. I went to a Ready, Set, Grow program at Lionsgate, and they've always placed me as a lead to start with. So for the first year and a half, I sang lead very poorly, and I actually got into my first quartet. It was called BOB, which stood for Babes of Barbershop. And we went to our first competition, and we came last. And I believe the comment on the score sheet, one of the sound score sheet was, "You didn't tune a single chord." So there's that. And then shortly after that, that quartet broke up, and I ended up switching to bass. And I got into another quartet and went to regional the following year, and we came fourth. So that was a step up, because apparently we tuned some chords. And then the regional championship quartet in Region 26, called Go-Go, found themselves in need of a bass to go to international that year. It was just 3 months before. It was 97 in Salt Lake. And so I auditioned, I got in, and we went to international, and we came 12th. So in a year and a half, I went from last place regional quartet to 12th place international quartet. And so I tell you that because if I can do it, you can do it. It took a lot of work. It was also very fortunate to have that opportunity at the time. And from then, I got into a couple other quartets. I was in a quartet called Unplugged. We were on the international scene for a few years. And then in Mojo after that, and then now Frenzy.
So we all agree that while we managed to have some success when we first got together, right out of the gate, we did pretty well. We struggled as a quartet with consistency. Excuse me. And we talked together about, we would like to take our best rehearsal, stuff that we are able to hear for ourselves, and be able to do that on stage. Why are we having trouble putting what we know we can do in front of the judges? So like Anne was saying, in 2013, we kind of had this heart-to-heart talk about, okay, this seems to be our biggest issue. Who do we need to help us? And we turned to Jean Barford. And she gave us a lot of tools and techniques to help with our consistency and to really understand what each of us needed to do individually to improve our unit. So a lot of tools that we're going to demonstrate today for you, we thought were pretty tedious when we learned them. And now we lovingly refer to them as grunge work. And we found that this is the fine detail work that's necessary to get clean and unified sound. We also learned that while many of these tools are left-brained, the result of using these tools is a very right-brained artistic result. So by eliminating all the distractions that come from out of sync or out of tune sound, we can focus on the message of the song. And of course, we are layering these tools on top of our fundamentals of notes, words, breaths. That all comes first, and then we're going to add in these tools.
And as we share these tools and techniques with you that we do at our regular rehearsals, it's important to note and be really honest and clear that it was a process for us, and it really requires us to leave our egos at the door. We had to be open to feedback from each other and from coaches, and it can be really challenging, right? Because we're very vulnerable. Our voice is our instrument. So we had to enter this with the trust and understanding that we respected each other, but that we were ultimately going for a specific goal, which was to be as consistent as possible and to create as much of a unit as possible. So we adopted the mantra of surrender to the unit. And we actually made a sign, and Nikki's mother, Arlene, who's also in the room, hi Arlene, laminated it for us. So that made it easy for us to transport and take around, and we did. So we're going to share with you some of these tools right now. And as we go through these, we're going to use the opportunity to demonstrate this with a part of one of our songs called Lover Come Back to Me. So we'll just sing a little bit of that for you right now. Which mic are we singing into? All of them? Okay, good.
Hi, good talk.
You went away, I let you. We broke the ties that bind, I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
Okay, so that's part of the song we're going to use. So one of the tools that we use on a regular basis at our rehearsals is duetting. Obviously, when we break down the parts into the duets, it helps us build more towards consistency and obviously helps us build towards unit. Different things you can work with duetting. One thing we do is address tempo. So we can use a metronome, for example, and break it down, and Nikki and I could do what with, break it down. What we like to use an app called Web Metronome, and we'll just play that with us. It's very handy too because it has a flashing light that shows you the beats because you can't always hear it when you're singing, and that helps us as a visual reminder to sing in time. Another thing that we learned along the way was that we had to sort of redefine our roles. For a long time, Nikki, what did you understand the lead's role to be?
Leading the quartet, right? Every lead is responsible for leading the quartet.
So let's give a demonstration of what it's like when Nikki leads in our duet.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
So how does that feel for you when you're leading like that?
That feels to me like I'm dragging people with me. It feels kind of vocally like straining to me. It feels heavy and hard to sing.
And so one of the things that Jean Barford helped the light bulbs go off for us was in terms of the lead is not meant to be dragging the quartet along. We should be solid enough in our plan and consistent enough in our plan that would allow the lead to be more artistic and free so that she can be the beautiful melodious part that she is. So in order to do that, Jean Barford planted the seed that the bass actually is the one to drive the quartet, both visually as well as musically. Yes, basses! So now we'll give a demonstration, hopefully, of the bass driving in this duet.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
Did you hear a difference? Okay, so what was that like for you?
So it's not just louder. I want that to be clear. Like, Judy leading does not mean that she just sang louder. She was more intentional about the plan. She took more ownership of that plan. And for me, it felt like all of the weight was all of a sudden lifted off of me, and it was 100 times easier to sing.
And for me, I felt like I could just go. I didn't have to feel in any way constrained. And it also allows me to take more ownership of the plan. And as I do that as the bass, it helps to be more consistent across the unit. So we would break this down. So I would do what, we're not going to do all those examples for you right now, but that's a good tool for us to use.
One of the great things about that is that means that Melissa and I get to listen from outside the sound. Have you ever been singing and you think you're 100% in tempo, and then you listen back and you're like, oh, not so much. So you may have noticed as they were duetting, we learned the importance of beat one, meaning you have to have an awareness, whether it's downbeat or backbeat, you have to have an awareness and a strength to beat one, especially when you're breathing on beat one. So you may have noticed we have a few breaths in there that are right on beat one, and not only did they not extend the phrase end long enough, the breath was a little long, and so it was a little uncomfortable as an audience member to not have that clarity. So they're going to do it again and try to increase their awareness of beat one.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
Did you hear that was even more unified? Phrase ends were cleaned up, and we didn't have to talk about phrase ends or any of that stuff. We just talked about beat one.
Excellent. Any questions about that? Okay, excellent. Another thing that we use the tool of duetting to address is understanding and identifying the relationship between the voice parts and music. For example, oftentimes bass tenor will have octaves, yes? So what is the role of the tenor in an octave, Melissa?
Oh, the role of the tenor in the octave is to basically emphasize the overtones that the bass is already creating, right? So the bass sound has to influence us all the time. So that means we need to be listening to that part. And sometimes we have octaves with other parts. Does that mean we need to listen to other parts at other points in the song? Yeah. So we will show you what happens when you just sing your notes.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past be far behind.
So not bad.
Okay, and my role is to make sure I'm consistent and foundational at all times so that she can listen to me and have something to lock into. Now, Melissa, would you like to listen to me?
I would like to listen to you.
And what will you do when you're listening to me?
So while I'm listening to you, I am going to be internalizing your pitch center. That sounds really fun and a little dirty, but but doing that will let me anticipate where her next note is, which tells me where my next note is.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past be far behind.
What a difference, hey? Did you hear a difference?
The first one's good, the second one's better. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, another thing that we will address with duetting are issues such as sync and coning, and for this we will have our lovely lead baritone duet.
So we actually thought we'd dispel some baritone myths in this section. The first one is listening, that the baritone is responsible for listening and following the lead. How many baritones have heard that before?
Be with the lead.
Yeah, be with the lead, follow. So this is what happens when I try to listen to Nikki and follow Nikki.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
Did you hear that I was slightly behind the entire time? And this was one of the we had to do this duet a lot, and these two had to constantly say, stop listening, because to follow her literally means I'm behind her. Mm-hmm. To follow someone, you're not with them. So I have to own and know the plan and just sing it, and I really, truly don't listen to her in the moment. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that will sound like this.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
More with her. Excellent. And to be honest, that kind of feels like I'm ahead. To be that on top of it, it feels like I'm in a little way leading her.
For me, I'm not checking in. You know how sometimes when you start singing, you kind of listen left and you listen right just to make sure it's good? And then I'm not doing that. When I sing as a lead now and everyone does their job, I just sing. I don't check in with anyone to help.
The next couple myths have to do with coning. So this is kind of an old school baritone thing, but the whole be seen, not be heard baritone thing, which is just if the baritone just sings quietly and fills in the notes, that's good enough, because you wouldn't want to overpower the lead, and this is what that sounds like.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
Wah, wah.
I didn't even hear you.
And one of the most important things that I learned is that I always, always, always need to sing with my full voice, no matter what. All I need to do is change the quality of the sound so that I don't take dominance over her if I'm above her. So it's the idea of using more head voice or more round tones when you're above the lead so that the lead takes dominance, and when you go below, adding a little more chest voice or more forward focus to the sound so that you take dominance. So hopefully that sounds like this.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
And that sounds more complete, right? And did that feel different for you?
100% different. 100%
Excellent.
different. The other thing that I a lot hear is I hear woofy baritones that don't sing soft, but it's like the baritone sometimes hides in the sound by singing really, really blendy. So like, don't notice me because I'm going to sing really loudly blendy. And so let's demonstrate that and see if we can hear a difference.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
Wah wah. Not as bright, and it will affect the entire quartet sound. The quartet will go from sounding bright to just kind of.
Sometimes sounds muddy, or sometimes the chords, to me, have an interference in them. It sounds like it's a hiss in the sound, so that impacts that.
We are the most important baritones.
Yes.
Who needs a leader of bass? You need a baritone.
So obviously, whenever we're using the tool of duetting, we identify what exactly it is that we're working to improve. And we will break down all the different duets, so we don't just do these specific duets. But we want to just show you, I mean, I think we've all used the tool of duetting before, either in chorus or in quartet. But we want to make sure that you are clear on what we're identifying. Once they have identified, for example, in this, when they were doing the coning example, I don't know, Melissa and I were back here, we're going back into tempo because some other things were going to the side. So once they've got that established, then we would start to layer in other elements as well.
So this is one of the next tools that we use. Because we're barber shoppers, we like to barber chop. And it is what we lovingly call the hand chop. So there's a few rules to how we do the hand chop, and there's a few reasons why we do the hand chop. So the hand chop is representing getting to and maintaining the target vowel. It's to help us improve sliding into some of the word sounds by using pre-thongs or pre-consonants. It gives every word and syllable its full resonation and its full length of time. Oftentimes, unstressed or short words like and with and to get chopped off. And so the hand chop will help that. And it also helps us all arrive at the target vowel, which is where the chord lock happens, because chord locking doesn't happen on a consonant. So the hand chop rules go like this. You take your non-dominant hand and you put it flat. Well done. Now you take your dominant hand like you're gonna chop on your hand. Yes? Perfect. So the rule is that it comes up and then it comes down when you have a new note or a new syllable, but it doesn't bounce, because staying down represents your sound. So if you bounce the hand up, it's bouncing your sound up too. So I'll demonstrate if I'm not doing the hand chop precisely, it would go, sorry. You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. See how it's a little. Jean Barford says, Freddie, feel good. I was like, you are right, it does feel excellent.
Garbage.
And then she says, it's garbage. So now I'm going to demonstrate just doing this. You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. Does that make sense? So far, so good? Okay. So we're going to demonstrate that part of our contest song, all four of us, without the hand chopping and then with the hand chopping. Ready?
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
Now with the hand chopping.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
Hear a difference?
The other thing that we do that on sometimes is do as well. It's really key for us in figuring out when we talk about what the plan is. When we do this hand chop, it really does show us how long every little thing is, or say, you know, I'm really doing that like a soft grace note, and you're doing that like 2/16 notes. Or you have a triplet feel here, and I don't have a triplet feel here, and I can both see that in their hands, and I can also hear that. So I think we all should try the barber chopping. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So, what should we, yeah, okay. So let's all sing the first 2 lines of this. Here we go. Just sing regular. Okay, no. That was like if we had to be up here singing and like sounding relatively not awful, then we need to perk it up out there. All right, here we go. No hand chop, just sing like you like me. Here we go. Good job. Now we're going to do the barber chop. Yes? Here we go. And remember that it stays down until you reattach it. It doesn't lift. Ready? And go. Nicely done. So I think you kind of have to hear the difference. So for fun and games, if you're born between January and June, do this with the hand chopping, please, so that everyone else can listen. Ready? And go. Can you do it with them? Nicely done. Do a little bit without.
Now start doing it.
Chopping. I hope. Good job. Okay, so if you're July through December, look at that math.
Do you hear a difference? By the way, what do you hear that's different? Sync, resonance, it's clean,
Chord strikes.
it's consistent.
Yep. So let's
and
have
it's
the other half
more
do it.
connected, they just said.
Yes.
And isn't that funny? Because you're not actually thinking connection.
Connecting sound.
Exactly, and I think that was one of the first things we learned when we were doing stuff with Jean. We all thought it felt very sterile. It didn't feel as good, which is this Freddie feel-good thing. But when we went back and listened to the actual recordings of our coaching session, we were like, oh, but it does sound better.
Dang it.
Which is really disappointing
Hate
because
her.
when she's right and you're wrong, it's like, ugh. Okay.
Fine.
So let's have July through December sing. Don't sing with the hand right now, just sing perky. Here we go. Good job. Now with the hand chop. Ooh, I like this key.
Welcome to our world.
Here we go. Two. Good. I want to do that another time because there was some hesitation to come with me. So you do have to sing the plan. You just have to move your hand. So let's try that again. Here we go with the chopping. Two. Yes. Yeah, that was different than the first time where we just felt a little bit hesitant on that. Do we hear a difference? January to Juners? Do you hear a difference of that? So what does it sound like inside of that sound when you're doing it? Or feel like? Boring? Who said that? Yeah. We say it feels sterile. Yeah. You say it mechanical?
But it sounds better, yes? Yeah.
Anyone else? Did you have something? I can't tell. I'm sorry? Cleaner words. To me, it's also the another day, that little triplet becomes very clean. I'm never really sure that that's a triplet or just like moving notes.
And
So-
that,
sorry. So when we were talking about consistency, this is where we would start with like level 1, so that we are all on the same page with the plan, so we can see visually and hear, okay, are we all doing this attack the right way? Are we finishing the word sound the same way? Are we holding this duration? You can see it as well as hear it. And then when we have that foundation, we can layer more things on top of it.
Excellent. One of the other tools that we use is singing against do. So this was actually introduced to us a few different times by a few different coaches, and every time they gave us this tool, they gave a different reason for using it. So we kind of found over time that it addresses a lot of things. So it helps fine-tuning, that's kind of the obvious one. It also is really useful to ensure that everybody knows the plan. We refer to it as the plan. You've already heard those words a few times, which is it's the interpretation plan, but it's exactly how long we're holding everything and when we move to the diphthong, all of that. So we, in the early days of using this, we would probably spend a good 30 or 40 minutes on like one page of the song, singing it on a unison on do until it was completely in sync, until we all knew exactly how long everything was, all of that. And the reason that it's so helpful is because it takes out the challenge of our individual voice parts. So sometimes you might have a nice falling, waterfally lead line, and so it's easy to go quickly through it, and the baritone and bass might be jumping all over the place, and so we're not going to be completely in sync. So by getting rid of that completely and all singing the same note, it's really easy to figure out exactly what the plan should be. And then we take turns singing against do. So we would spend a long time, all four of us, singing do, and then basically we take turns. So two of us sing on do, one person sings against it, one listens, so that there's always somebody listening, not in the sound, so that we can hear. Obviously, tuning and sync are the big, giant things that we're listening for. So we are gonna...
I wanted to jump in really quick. We're talking about this plan, right? And we're talking about how long absolutely everything is. We're not just talking about our uptune doing this, we're also talking about our ballad doing this. We always have an idea of how long we want something to be held, right? That's going to be a really pretty chord on the word love, so we should hold the word love. But exactly how long we hold the word love is open now to 4 different people's interpretations. So we actually got very specific about that, and we talked about, it feels like it's 2 pulses of meter long, and then we would move on from it. When we did that, my head exploded, quite literally, because I think we got through 3 measures in 6 hours. However, it completely freed up me as a lead to just sing, because I didn't have to be different than I was in rehearsal. I didn't have to be amazing on the stage. I didn't have to feel it more. And then the quartet had a consistently to sing against instead of a moving target. Because sometimes I'd get on the stage and I'd be like, oh, I have so much air, I'm going to hold this out just an extra 6 seconds. And they'd be like, great. Or I would say, oh, I'm going to sing this so soft, it's going to be so beautiful. And Melissa's like,
Yes, true story.
and so when we had this plan that was so very specific and nailed down, the lead job became very obvious of what I don't have to do and what I do have to do.
All right, so we're gonna sing this section all on do.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
I missed one.
That was quite out of sync. So we would actually normally probably spend a lot of time trying to make sure that we were completely in sync, and that all of this stuff is happening as we're going through, so that we're working against the best possible version. But we're not going to do. Okay, fine.
I really messed it up.
and you might notice we're singing our own part, but on do.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
That was cleaner.
Excellent. So now
for sure.
Judy and Melissa are going to stay on do. Nikki's going to sing her part against do, and I'm going to listen.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
Excellent. So Nikki's got a whole bunch of passing notes through do, right? Like she goes from above to below, and she just has one note on do in the middle, and they were all do-ish.
You're welcome.
So it's really important that she has an awareness of those. And the only other one was, I wanted to forget you. What is that? Like what? Anyway, so one of the big things about this is how well do you know your part? Do you know where you are in relation to do? I wouldn't necessarily know based on how she just sang that. So it's just a... Welcome to our rehearsals.
It's the 6th.
Excellent. So she's going to try that again and improve all of those passing does and make that 6th awesome.
You know, I did all those mistakes just so you had something to comment
knew
on.
it.
I'm just saying, because, you know, I'm trying to make you look smart.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
That was much better. The only one I heard that wasn't as awesome was, and leave the... Yeah, was getting there instantly. And that was probably a this. I think she probably went, and leave the... And so she got there eventually instead of right away. But I mean, you know, and this is the ego thing we're talking about,
Yeah,
right? Is
totally.
the taking it on and going, yeah, okay, I'm doing this because we want to get better. Excellent. Okay, Judy, you're singing your part against do.
Oh, I thought we were moving on, hopefully.
You know this is Anne's favorite exercise.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
Excellent, great. So she has some octave below. She's got some of those low E's that they're hanging on that I thought could have had a little more lift. You know what? Oh, let. Yeah, and then far behind. Let, I think, just think about the L. Yeah.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind. Far behind.
Yes, that's the one.
That's it.
Yeah. Excellent.
Okay.
Awesome. My turn.
That's right. Don't mess it
And
up.
of course, if you're singing do, you have to make sure you keep
Remember.
spinning it up.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
Can I see the music?
Was anyone here for the year that we won? And do you remember the question was drunk or baritone? Do you now know where we got that? You do have to wonder, right? You do wonder. So Anne has a luxurious part traveling around sharp 1 and minor sharp 7 and 2s and augmented fourths and all sorts of really interesting choice notes. They're hard. And I give her no credit for that. So you just have to do them right. Yeah. So be better.
And that was the knowing the part on Get You. I was like, I don't know if I should be on 1 or 7. I have no
And
idea.
I wanted to.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm going to suck less.
You went away, I let you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
So much better.
Better her than me is all I have to say.
And then it's the tenor's turn, and
I always forget my part. Because I'm always last.
It's true.
So, so I'm the only one that stapled a copy of the music to my class notes. Because I need it every time. How's it go?
You went away, I love you. You broke the ties that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
Okay.
You went away, I let you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past behind.
Melissa is like, first of all, she's pretty much perfect all the time. And she's the epitome of the tenor who's really invested in the sound, not just the icing on top. You know?
Yeah, because that's.
Yeah. I agree. Tenors are 25% of this sound up here. You're not like, just the icing on top and it doesn't really matter. Like, you know, we can't do it without her. So I love that she sings just so beautifully and fully all the time. I wanted to forget something in there. Also, you can really hear how when she's listening to Do, she can either really amplify all the overtones and how she chooses to sing, or she doesn't.
You can put a cap on them. That's the power of the tenor. You can turn off the overtones. How cool is that?
It's a superpower.
Or you can just shoot them out at people. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, that's our superpower.
It's like your superpower.
all right, we're going to put this all back together now, and we'll see if you hear a difference now that we've all sung our parts against Do.
You went away, I let you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
Whoa! Cleaner? Did you hear a difference?
I don't know how many times we've done this class, and
You are welcome.
is amazingly different at the end of doing it,
It
on
is.
Do.
Every time. Okay, we are going to do a tiny short piece of how we sang today. We're just going to go, tomorrow's another day, and it's your turn to check your egos. So let's all sing against Do. So basses, you can sing the low Do, baritones and, I would say leads, choose the high one, baritones, do the low one, tenors the high one. Ready?
Tomorrow's another day.
That's as far as we're going. Excellent. So leads, you're going to sing against Do. So leads, sing your part. Everybody else sing Do.
Tomorrow's another day.
So leads, we have to be very conscientious about how we also can help this Do overtone ring. It feels to me like we're coming in a little shallow. Tomorrow, tomorrow's another day. All of those want to have some lift and some spin to them. Yeah? Here we go. One more time. Against Do. Yes. And one more thing for the leads. On the second beat of row, tomorrow, then there's a move. I want you to just lift a little bit inside of you on that one note. Go. Yes.
Nice.
So why did we lift inside their leads? Because we weren't doing anything vocally except singing one note. But what were we doing? We're supporting the sound that's happening, right? There's a chord that goes on around us. So I've been told. Yeah. There's like notes that are sung while we are singing. News to me.
Okay.
And in order for me to support that, right, us to support that as leads, we want to kind of lift into that chord.
All right, leads go back to do. Basses, you are going to sing your part against do this time. Basses want another shot at that.
Basses, let's get a nice big fat ooh on that and lift into it so it's two instead of two. Lift. Here we go.
And leads, you're singing do.
Good. Upward. Excellent, basses. That was fantastic on that initial breath into two. Now make sure when we do those descending intervals of tomorrow, we were a little bit on the brown, dark side. Tomorrow, we listen to do and tune to that. Another day here as well. Day, day, day. Yes?
Leads, you're singing do. Don't sing your part.
Here we go, basses.
Hang on, sorry, basses, that 2 is not high enough. That's approximately 2. Go
Take
all
a
the way
nice
up.
breath and lift into that. Here we go. Good. Watch this ascending interval upward. Yes, good. Here as well, basses, upward. Good job. Nicely done, basses.
Excellent.
Woohoo, basses.
Awesome. Baritones, your turn.
Everybody else singing do.
Basses go back to do. Tomorrow.
Basses.
Another day. Excellent. So baritones, tomorrow. That interval is way higher than we think it is. And then another day. Make sure you go up and out on that one instead of down the back staircase. Two. Sorry, that's not helpful when I sing the baritone note, is it?
Never.
That's do. Awesome. Yeah, and baritones just like the leads on tomorrow. We need to keep lifting because other parts do things.
And everybody singing do needs to keep the spin in as well, because sometimes that's going down.
Tomorrow's another day. Nicely done, baritones. Excellent. Tenor.
Tenor, do you remember your part? I don't.
Tomorrow's
Another day. Oh, cool.
Everybody on do except the tenors.
Nice. It's perfect.
Tomorrow's. Can you really crash with do? And then on day, same thing. Really rub up against do rather than being approximate about that interval. Nice, tenors.
Yes.
That was
awesome.
excellent.
So you guys, when we put this all together right now, sing exactly what you just did, because you are going to hear chords that you actually never knew were in this song. Wow!
Well done.
It doesn't always sound like that, does it? No.
We should do this when we sing this at the end of an event.
We should.
What?
Just saying.
Or like maybe all the time.
Crazy. Did you feel a difference? So you can do this with an entire song. We kind of do it chunks at a time because, well, I would love it. I could spend 8 hours doing it at a rehearsal, but I feel like the 3 of them might not. So we usually say we're going to spend 40 minutes doing page 1 of the uptune, and we'll spend a lot of time digging deep and figuring this out.
So we're going to give you another tool to play with. We actually got this the year that we won in Las Vegas while we were there at the convention. We were working on our final set, and if any of you were there or have seen it, I had a song, Mommy of a Toddler, that has a lot of words in it, and like 4 breaths. A lot of words. Anyway, I was trying, that's the key word here, I was trying really hard to get all those words out, and there was too much effort, too much push in the sound. And Peggy Graham said to us, pick up a piece of paper. We're like, okay, that's magic. She said, put those consonants at the end of the paper. And it does some pretty cool things. So we're going to show you what it looks like when we try to do every single thing that we want to do. We're going to try really hard. Ready?
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, I wanted to forget you and leave the past be far behind.
Okay. So, it has a little bit of press in it
I don't know what you're talking about.
because we really want to make sure they're all there. Okay, so now we're going to put this piece of paper up here and we'll show you what it does.
You went away, I led you. We broke the ties that bind, I wanted to forget you and leave the past be far behind.
Now, why the heck does that work?
Peggy magic.
It's Peggy magic. I have no idea. I honestly, I don't. It's
magic.
It's magic. It's a kinesthetic tool, right? It gets the big muscle of your brain to think about something else, right? So we're gonna try it.
We're
with
gonna try
you
this.
guys.
Your piece of paper or your hand?
Your name badges will work too.
Yes. So let's try it. Now remember that the rules are it goes underneath your lips, yeah? And then straight out, so no
this
droopies.
is wrong. This is wrong.
Here we go.
Put them out here.
Oh, no. We just spent like a whole 5 seconds working on what you all have to do for your parts.
You still
Do you
have
remember
to
those?
do everything.
Remember those awesome chords we just had? Do you remember that? Can we just like roll back and do that again? Here we go. Keep going. Keep going. Nice.
So for me, this also not only does it help make it less pressy and relieve the tension that you might otherwise put in. How many of you heard that your director or quartet mate ask you to sing away from you?
Yeah.
So this is obviously a tool that helps both visually as well as directing the sound out that way to get that continuous flow of air and sound away from you.
July to December, no paper.
Do everything.
We'll try again.
Sorry. Do everything.
Don't mess with her.
Let's try.
Paper
Put
up.
the paper up. Hear the difference?
Do you feel or hear? Just shout out what you hear. The sound popped.
Resonance.
Clean, fuller, easier,
Easier.
easier to sing too, right?
I hear more vibrancy in the sound. There's more of an overtone.
Definitely.
And there's
present.
more direction
And
to the
slightly
sound.
higher in pitch.
Ah.
So when we're rehearsing, you could do this at chorus as well, or when you're in a quartet rehearsal. If you feel like you're pressing a lot, or you want to sing something a little more buoyant, feel free to even use your hand or a piece of sheet music or whatever, just to get you into that mindset, and then you can take it down again.
So the last tool we're going to teach today is, we have nicknames for all of our tools, and this one is called, very, very technically, the flicky breath. So we realized that we were making a really big deal out of the ends of phrases. We had a little bit of muscle engagement and tension as we were releasing our phrases, and therefore the breath coming in was too long, and it had a lot of tension involved. And so we call these the flicky breaths because it shows me to release the air up here and then enter up here, and then just kind of carry on with the phrase. So we're going to show you first without the flicky breaths.
I am really good at this, just so you know.
We actually all excel at this.
Yeah, really.
You went away, I let you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
So you noticed our phrase ends, though, right? I mean, we had them, dang it.
And we crescendoed to the ends of the phrases. Like, to me, that was like, well, I'm crescendoing to the end of the phrase. But I was using my throat muscles to do that.
And we were trying to have energy to the end, right? Those energized phrase endings that we hear
And
so much about.
forward motion
Yeah.
and
So
stuff.
we're making that happen.
Yeah.
Are we?
Now we're going to show you with the flicky breaths.
You went away, I let you. We broke the ties that bind, that bind. I wanted to forget you and leave the past far behind.
Isn't that crazy?
I know it looks like it's super easy, but it did take us a little bit to get used to this because we really wanted to snatch that breath out of the air. So let's try it a few times, yeah? So let's do it without first. Everyone in. Here we go.
Sit up straight. All the good things we've been working on.
Wow.
That was a hint, a subtle hint.
Anne puts the B in subtle. Thank you.
There it is! You're
Thank you.
quick. You're very quick.
Well, it kind of took a second, but that's all right. Here we go.
Sing to the end of the phrase with energy and lift off the end. Extend it and lift.
Yes. We do that, don't we? All the time. All the time. Okay.
And sometimes we add in the super duper extra body reset too, and we're standing where we go, day, I hope and pray. It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so now let's try with the flicky breaths. Yes? You're going to release the sound up here. It enters in up here. Here we go. Tomorrow. Hands down. There's another day. Yes.
Nice.
Yes, keep going. Yes.
Now go back without the flicky breath and
No,
try
please.
it. Try it without.
So take-
With energy to the end. With energy.
I'm glad we loved and
Flicky?
Flicky. Nice.
Nice. Do you hear the difference?
yes.
Isn't that crazy? I love that.
The other thing is that we have energized breaths coming into the next phrase, but they don't sound abrupt and they don't sound rushed, so we're not jumping beat one on those. And it has all of the emotional urgency that we're always getting asked to have. You know, breathe urgently. It has all of that. It just doesn't have the tension that drives it. So it's kind of
One of the big things for us was thinking of phrase ends as length of time only. Because oftentimes we're asked to energize phrase ends because they're not long enough. Rather than thinking of just holding it out long enough, breathing and going. And that is an energized phrase end.
Okay, so in this class today, we've shared with you some of our favorite tools. And of course, these are just ones we've used over the years. There are many, many other tools out there. And so we wanted to review and recap what we worked on. We talked about duetting, and we looked at that in terms of working on things like tempo, sync, coning, relationship, like octaves, and that kind of stuff. Working on do. We did flicky breaths. We did singing over the paper, and of course, the hand chop. So what we'd like to do now is sing through how we sang today and ask you to pick one of your favorite tools that we did in this session, and have you, if you could all just stand up, please, and do this. Pick your favorite tool. Wow, stand up.
That was painful.
Pick your favorite tool, and we'll sing through how we sang today and see how we have improved our experience.
Nice! That may be one of the best versions I've heard.
I know.
Would you agree that you had a heightened awareness and there was lots of awesome stuff happening around you? I was impressed. I heard like tons
A
of
lot of good
chords
things.
and stuff.
Those chords are actually really cool.
They are cool.
I didn't really know
It's
that.
like somebody wrote them on purpose.
So what we do is we've taken these tools and we've created
guys can
shorthand for ourselves. We use one word, like we refer to flicky breath, or just do gestures, so that we can, while we're singing, rehearsing, if we hear something going on, we can just do this, remind ourselves and remind each other. In fact, it has become part of our ritual when we're backstage, right before we go out. We'll be standing in a circle and we'll each do this, as a reminder, and then they'll announce us and we go. So if you ever see us backstage, we'll be first hugging each other, saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. Okay, enough of that now. And then we go. We love to do schools and we love to teach and coach as an ensemble. So if you're interested in hiring us for your region or your chorus, please come let us know. We also have flyers back
At the
there.
doors.
Our Frenzy moms have flyers if you're interested. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.